And this from Danielle from Austin, Texas. Many disagree about politics, but so many that I run into will agree, regardless of political affiliation, that it's difficult to fully love others if a person doesn't love herself. Similarly, it's hard to help or care for others without being able to do it for oneself first. That's why on airplanes they always tell the adult to put on an oxygen mask before the child. What good is the adult to the child if the adult is suffocating? In December of 1973, my mother was 18 and living in Amarillo, Texas. She conceived my half-sister, Abby, with a man she did not know well, who she felt affection for but did not love. She knew she was not ready for a baby. She made almost no money and had unresolved PTSD from sexual and emotional abuse. But her family was going to disown her if she put the child up for adoption. I can only imagine Texas was similar to what it might be like if this bill passed. Abortion was technically legal, but not very accessible. She had the option to be further shunned by her family or to have the baby. When Abby was 4 years old, she was diagnosed with leukemia, which she lived with until she was 12 years old. She passed away in my mother's arms while she was giving her a sponge bath. Abby's leukemia was a result of growing up next to a nuclear power plant and jet fuel line from an Air Force base. So how are we to expect mothers to not seek out abortions when our government shows no interest in stopping the contributions to toxicity in our environment, while simultaneously encouraging families to control their daughters' bodies, while simultaneously doing so little to help those who are victims of sexual violence and domestic abuse? My mother does not regret raising Abby despite the trauma of eventually losing her, but she regrets that she grew up in a time where she had so little agency about a choice she needed to make herself, not her family, not her government. She believes as a result of her struggle, and so taught me, that all women need options. I asked the government and people in favor of this bill why they are so concerned with the fetus, but not the 4-year-olds who are in toxic environments, who may not have access to healthy food or any food at all. Why are they so convinced that a mother can properly care for another human being when the world puts up so many barriers for her to even take care of herself? If you value the life of a child, you must value the life of the woman who carries it. If you value the life of a child, then you need to value their entire life, not just when they are a collection of cells in a uterus. If you want to blame a woman for not wanting to bring a child in the world, I suggest making it better, and a better and easier world to raise the children we already have, who are struggling to thrive because of environmental decay and economic disparity. However, I suggest not blaming the woman at all, for you are likely to never be in her shoes. From Jane in Austin. To the chair and committee members, my name is Jane. I'm here to testify against HB 60 and HB 16. My representative is Donna Dukes. Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst bent the rules to add these bills. He had his chance during the regular session. This should not be happening. Shame on him and shame on you who support these bills. A woman's body is hers. The state has no right limiting her health care choices, including abortion. Abortion is about women's health. Ask any woman who has been diagnosed with cancer at some point in a pregnancy, who was given a choice to begin treatment for cancer and advised to abort her unborn child or to carry the baby to term with no treatment, at the risk she will die before the baby's due date. Women who have an abortion do not do so lightly. No woman gets pregnant so she can have an abortion. Sometimes families end up needing to terminate a pregnancy when they never thought they would. These bills will inordinately affect poor working women. The clinics that will have to close are not just about abortion. They provide family counseling, breast exams, pap smears, prenatal care. And under this bill, the abortion pill, which is safe and rarely results in complications, will require a before and an after appointment with a doctor. It also requires a woman to take a higher dosage than necessary, which only indicates the ignorance of those who wrote these bills, since it's been shown that the necessary dosage is much less than the bill would require. Shame on you who support these bills. The omnibus abortion bill will be challenged in the courts, causing an enormous waste of valuable tax dollars and state resources. We've seen this in other states. The bottom line is this: these bills will make abortion harder to obtain and more expensive. And as a result, we will see an increase in back alley abortions, self-administered abortions, deaths among women seeking abortions, and unintended pregnancies carried to term, all of which directly create negative public health outcomes and a huge financial drain on the state of Texas. This is not what any of us want for our state or for our women, children, and families. Shame on you who support these bills. This is from Linnea in Austin. Thank you, Chair and Committee, for allowing me to testify. My name is Linnea, and I am a constituent of Representative Donna Dukes, and I'm here to testify against Bills SB5, HB60, and HB16. Mr. Chairman, I will gladly share my personal story with you if you feel that it will contribute to this hearing and that you have the time and patience to listen to it through to the end. It is not very long, but it is longer than 3 minutes. Not too long ago, I became unexpectedly pregnant. Now, I've lived a fairly easy life. When I became pregnant, at the time I lived in a house owned by my family. I was 30 years old, married to the man I've been with for over a decade, relatively stable income, all the factors that one thinks one needs in order to raise a family. And yes, at first we decided to sustain the pregnancy. We even told our parents and some friends. And then the panic set in for me. I became overwhelmed with emotions. I tried to keep them at bay, but when I found myself resisting the urge to wish for a miscarriage, I knew I had to make a different choice. I could not find the strength within me, but when I went to my husband, and that wonderful man took my hand and said, "You don't need to make this alone. I will make it with you. We will make this choice together." What changed? I'm a person that loves life, honors life so much that I don't even eat animals. I wish for there to be as little suffering as possible in this world. But in those days of moving toward a choice of abortion, the reality of my situation became crystal clear, as if I were going through a near-death experience. You see, my family divorced when I was very young. My parents, the two people who brought me into this world, hated each other. I do not remember a time seeing them show love for each other. My concept of love had been for so long related to abandonment, to loss, to hate. How could I expect my child to love in a healthy way if I did not myself know how to love? 3 other factors were the same as this. How could I expect my child to deal with anger and negativity if I did not know how? How could I expect my child to embrace its creative expression and follow its heart if I did not know how? How could I expect my child to be physically healthy and respect their body if I did not know how? These 4 things were irrefutable to me. I could not be the parent that I feel every child deserves without these factors in place. Even though the idea of abortion was and still is heartbreaking to me, bringing up a child with these disadvantages was even more painful. Throughout my pregnancy, all the way through my abortion, I did not drink or take my migraine medication, my little way of showing that I valued life even as I found myself incapable of bearing it. Even during my surgical abortion procedure, I refused any sedation other than local anesthesia. I wanted to be present in the only way in which I was capable. There are no words to describe the intense myriad of emotions that I went through, and I imagine that will help people understand why so few women are sharing their personal experiences of abortion here today. It's not that it's shameful. It's that it is the most singularly powerful, life-changing experience they've had, and to reduce that to 3 minutes of half-hearted listening would be crushing. I have made my peace with my decision through enormous effort. Not only that, but I've worked on those other 4 factors. Thanks to Austin's Capital Area Counseling, I have an absolutely amazing and gifted counselor who is helping me reshape my concept of love, anger, and how to be true to myself. I have worked hard to get fit. I've gone from obese to healthy on the BMI scale in the last year. I believe where I faced with that choice now that I could reach a different conclusion. Every step forward is a gift. It is empowering, and yet it always has the lining of sadness, of loss, of the choice that I made. It will always be with me. It was the hardest choice I have ever had to make, and I don't wish it upon my worst enemy, even if it made you understand, Mr. Chairman, that choosing abortion is not a choice against life, but a choice for life. I would not wish it upon you. I just ask you to keep in mind that number, that 1 in 3 women in our country have had or will have an abortion, and that it's not a choice made due to inconvenience or a simplistic disregard of human life. Quite the opposite. That when faced with such a demanding, life-altering choice, most women will face a kaleidoscope range of emotions and thoughts that many humans will, if they are lucky, never have to face. As you can see, my choice had nothing to do with the availability of abortion. If abortion had been too expensive or unavailable to me, I can promise you that I likely would have tried to create a cocktail of drugs to make it happen on my own. So if a lack of available abortion providers is not a deterrent, what could you have done to prevent me from having an abortion? Perhaps working to remove the stigma of giving up unwanted pregnancies for adoption. Perhaps making contraception more readily available via affordable health care. Perhaps via that affordable health care, providing quality counseling so that I had dealt with these issues much earlier in my life, or even so early that my parents could have had proper counseling and learned to deal with each other without so grossly perverting my concept of love and family. There are many ways in which to show that you value life without trying to force a choice in which you have neither responsibility nor consequences. I have to deal with my choice for the remainder of my life, and I will always work tirelessly to be a better person in the name of that choice. How are you going to work tirelessly to empower more women and families to rise to the occasion of unexpected pregnancy? Thank you for your time.